Hi everyone, my name is Gavin. I'm here with Jessica Powers, and today we're going to cover the first 90 days of an agent's career or entry into the business. And I think that the 90 days is so vital to an agent's growth because it can make or break someone's career in this industry. There's a few things that you want to make sure that you do, whether it's you in your first 90 days or whether you're hiring and you have agents that are in their first 90 days. Because this is an industry where you can make a lot of money really quick. We've got some agents that Jessica's got one agent now that in his second month he issued 42,000. So we're talking about our first 90 days and how to get started fast. He did it in 45 or 60 days. And I think we're going to cover some of the things that are really important and helpful to those agents to get those fast starts. I think the biggest one is when we hire people is to set the right expectations. A lot of people are coming from an industry that may be outside of insurance and they may not have any sales background whatsoever. So everything they do might be new to them. And so I think it's really important to set those expectations and let them know what they're going to be experiencing over those first 90 days. So Jessica, what are some of the things that you use and you help your agents get going with over the first 90 days there?
Absolutely. And I agree with you, John. The first 90 days is very, very important. We really focus first and foremost, and I know you as including, is that getting paid that first pay.
Absolutely.
Because that's what makes this real, yep. Right? This is what takes it from, this is too good to be true to real. But the next step is to keep repeating that again and again, yep. Right? Not just get one pay and that be it. So there's definitely some key factors that myself and a lot of other agents have taken, the initiative to do. First is plugging in, right? Just getting yourself plugged into the team, right? Creating that culture for yourself that you're not alone, right? Because this can be new and can be nerve-wracking to you, but I can guarantee you there's tons of other people that are experiencing it or have gone through it. Mm-hmm. Anything that my agents come to with me about, I've dealt with it, right? Yeah. Or I know somebody that has, so we can talk you through that. Yep. Second is just getting really comfortable with leads, right? The first 90 days is really not necessarily to have this goal of I need to be so profitable. It's more so, what kind of learning can I do? What kind of skills can I achieve and can I learn in that 90 days, right? So getting really good at getting leads, getting good on the phones, mastering the phones, which are 80% of what we do, right? And getting in the home, going through the financial inventory, doing the in-home, practicing that again and again, right? The goal is to get to your first 100 sits, not appointments, not leads, 100 sits as quickly as you possibly can. Now, is that going to take you a month? Is that going to take you? That depends on how quickly you go, right? Yeah. How good you are on the phones, how many leads that you get. But agents that have success are the ones that get in the field quickly, right? And keep doing it over and over again and fail forward quickly, not take forever and be nervous to buy, should I buy 20 leads or 30 leads? I can tell you the agents that, that don't skimp on those, they don't skimp on themselves because we're investing in ourselves. You're not investing in an employer or things. You're not an employee. You're 1099, right? Yep. So we want to make sure that you're putting everything in your favor. Yep. Before I came to Family First Life, I actually had contemplated going back to school. As in the medical field, I continued going back to school to be a nurse. And I contemplated, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to have a couple more years of school and I'm going to rack up the debt. Well, here I was able to turn my annual income into my monthly income in a year, and I had no student debt. Yep. I've seen so many people come on, the agent that you mentioned, that was able to turn their entire lives around just by betting on themselves.
I think one of the things you touched on is really important, and here at Family First Life, we want to make sure that we get the agents paid very quickly. But a lot of the numbers that people see, it's almost not believable. Right. If you see the issue paid numbers, which our comp starts at 90 and goes up to 145%, but the issue paid numbers, even at 90%, the numbers that we put up are astronomical, and so it is hard to believe. And so from the outside looking in, people think it's a gimmick that people aren't really making that kind of money. And so when we get agents paid quickly and they run, appointments, several appointments, and they get a deposit for, $500, $600, $700, sometimes $1,200 for an hour's worth of work, then it lets them know that it's real. Okay, so now we've established that yes, what we do is real, but that's not the end game. We want to get that consistency. So we want to build it up, and we want to get them not just writing one policy, but get them up to speed as quick as possible and continuously writing policies. So how is it that when you have a new agent and you're addressing leads with them, how is it that you address the lead situation? Because it's a little bit different. A lot of other insurance companies, they don't have leads. They bother their friends and family. They do other things to get their business. But we work through a lead program where we only talk to people who have inquired about getting life insurance in some format or another. How do you address the lead situation with your new agents?
Absolutely. I think that's a great question, because in the beginning for me, leads were I was really nervous about them.
Yep.
Right? I was not used to having to invest in myself. And as we mentioned earlier with our lead strategy, is that leads are your lifeline. They're the fuel to your business. They're contacts, right? If you buy 20 leads, it's not 20 people that you're going to go and sit with, right? These are 20 people that have expressed some sort of interest in life insurance. Some are very interested, some are not, right? Our goal and our objective is to find the people that are, right? And by our skill set and by continually going through those reps, right? Pro athletes, things like that, they weren't initially great, right? They stumbled, but they didn't give up. They kept going and kept going, right? So what I tell our agents is just keep reinvesting in yourself, keep betting on yourself, keep purchasing the leads, keep putting in the work and the reps, and that's when the magic happens.
Yep. That's
when you keep going. Having yourself on a set schedule, right? And I think that that's one of the big things that I see new agents struggle with is they come from, a W-2 where they have a set schedule, they know what they're supposed to be doing, and then you come on here where, you're independent. But reality, that's when you want to be even more stringent on your schedule.
Yep.
You want to treat yourself like an employee, right? Would you hire yourself or fire yourself for the day?
Every day.
Keep going. So what I used to do is I'd block schedule my time. Have specific dial days, specific times. I'd mark my calendar of when I was supposed to get on and buy leads because I needed to treat myself like an employee because I knew that I needed to have that commitment and that accountability to myself, which really brings into where, for these 90 days, you should be setting goals. You should be understanding this is not just one big mountain you have to climb. It's reaching those next step. What did you do last week? What did you do yesterday? Just be better than you were yesterday and keep ratcheting up and making sure you hold yourself accountable, right? Having that mentorship and that being able to check in with the person who's helping guide you through this is going to be key. So don't be a secret agent, right?
Yep.
Check in with your mentor, have conversations, continuous conversations. Where are you at? How many dials? What's going on? Because that's the blueprint. You don't have to recreate this, right, John?
Nothing at all.
You don't have to recreate this.
The great part about, we're going into our 7th year now, and everything's been perfected. Right. We have the phone scripts that work. Okay, we have the lead programs and the leads that work. We have the training that works. And so for an agent coming in their first 90 days, plugging themselves into their system is so incredibly important because we're not asking anybody to reinvent anything at all. It's just do what other people have done to become successful. Those big numbers, almost like the cartoonish numbers that people are putting up now have all been reached by people that are just plugging into our system and following that. So you don't have to reinvent anything else. It's a copy and paste of everything. That's what Matt used to always say, and that's all we do now. So our phone and the tools that we use now that we've got live dials. So when I first started, I was given a script, I was given some leads, and I just dialed them. And so now we actually you can watch someone dial live and see them overcome objections and get coached by somebody else and get them helped along, so you don't feel like you're out there on an island working by yourself and the only person gets told I'm not interested and that sort of thing. So we actually can see people and how they overcome objections early on and get better on the phone, because like you'd mentioned before, the phoning is 80% of what we do. The product knowledge is only 5%. And so if you get good on the phone, you're a jump start ahead of everybody else. And like you had mentioned, getting to those 100 sits is so important. I think one of the greatest stories we have is Easton Padden, and how he, they would post, the Southeast group would post their appointments that they had and their sales, And a year and a half ago, he had 83 appointments, and I think he had 5 sales because he wasn't very good. He was just early on. But what he did do was he continuously invested into himself. He continuously dialed, and he organically got better to now he's one of the top agents in the country. And I think he's going to issue about $700,000 this year. It's a year after not be able to close a door. He couldn't do anything at all. And so, it's one of those things where we have this system put in place. So what are the other things that agents should expect in the first 90 days?
I would say that's a really good question. And I think that you're right, like having those proper expectations is that having a proper expectations about the leads, right? Like I mentioned, but I think that's real, is understanding that you got to get really used to the no's, right? It's just like with any sales, you got to get comfortable with the no's because, once you get through your no's, you're going to find your yeses, right? And like we said, the reps, right? Going through multiple times of having that no, 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 things like that. I would also say making sure that you're not, like I said, the secret agent. John touched on signing up for live dials. That's huge. Yeah. It's uncomfortable, right? It's so uncomfortable. But I can tell you the people that sign up for it, not just once, but again and again and again, and they put themselves out there, those are the people, right? Like Easton Patton was the person that probably everyone goes, oh my gosh.
Do you know who the first person to sign up for live dials was?
I don't know who.
Brad Allen.
There you go. Brad Allen signing up for
very first one. Yeah. So it's so important to take advantage of that. And sort of what you were talking about as being a secret agent is Family First Life, more now than ever, is a gigantic support system. And so you can be in any place in the country, even if the person that hired you is not in your state. We're going to have 400 offices across the U.S. by the end of 2021. It seems like we have grand openings every week. And so being such a big support system is you don't have to necessarily go to the office of the person that hired you. They can actually be in another state, which happens quite often, and you can get plugged into another dial team. So I think it's really important to be around that culture, to be around people that are dialing, to be around people that are taking it seriously and learn from them. Because if you operate as a secret agent by yourself, you're not going to get a whole lot better. Okay? And so one of the things that we do is we plug people into different agencies across the U.S. and take advantage of the great training that we provide as well too. So if you were to, in your group, when you have agents coming on board, after they're plugged into the dial team, after they're watching the training videos, what are some other things that you recommend they do to be really successful in those first 90 days?
Absolutely. Well, I think that one of the big things that we do besides getting the dials and the training is having goals set out for you, knowing what you're doing, like why are you there, right? Like for me, I knew why I was there. I knew I was here. And if we have a clear vision as to why you're there and what you want, it makes it a lot easier, right? I'm a big believer on the immediate massive action plan. What am I doing? Why am I here? What am I going to do? Right? So figuring out those, getting to understand, like when I'm talking to an agent, like say Courtney, it's like I want to know why Courtney's here. I want to know what her life is like. I want to know what we can do for her to be successful. Right? But it's not going to happen just like if I don't want it enough, it's not going to happen. If you don't want it enough, it's not going to happen. Right? It's always comes down to what are you going to do? And a lot of times it's looking at what do you have to give up? Right? What distractions do you have as a new agent? What habits do we have? Do we stay up too late and watch TV? Are we doing things that aren't in our best interest? Are we listening to people say, oh my gosh, why are you doing that? You can't make any money doing that. Meanwhile, they're working at the convenience store, which is a great job for them, but that's not your goal. That's not your vision. They're not going to understand that. So realizing that the people that are helping you have your best interest.
Absolutely.
Right? Like when I started, John, I knew you had my best interest. Right? I wasn't going to listen to Bob or Tina down the road about what I was doing because they didn't know what I was doing. Right? I wasn't going to listen to my naysayers or things like that. I was going to bet on myself. Right? And I knew that I needed to follow a path. I needed to plug in. I need to treat myself like this was a career, not a hobby. Right? I wanted life-changing results, but I wasn't in the beginning, right? If you're not willing to change and have those life-changing things, like you're not going to do great in this if you get up at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Get up early, have a good mindset. Whatever that sounds corny, right? Work out, whatever you need to do to have a strong mind, right? And get out there and buy the leads, go on your appointments, sit with the families, plug in, right? You're not alone, and go to work. It's not that difficult.
No, and there's so many good things that you just said right there. The biggest one that I hear is holding yourself accountable, and because a lot of people that come into this industry are for the first time self-employed for the very first time.
Right.
So they're used to punching the clock and being told what to do for the next 8 hours, or knowing what they're supposed to do for the next 8 hours. Here it's a little bit differently. There's no one standing over your shoulder telling you what to do. And so I think it's imperative that you set those goals and hold yourself accountable to them, and work with your manager, whoever brought you on board, to see where you're at in line with those goals. The other thing that I think is huge, and it's kind of ironic that you'd mentioned that, because I had an agent call me up yesterday who just came on board with us, and he is incredibly sharp, incredibly talented, and he's younger. And he got through the course. He got the course on a Thursday, scheduled his test on a Tuesday, and then passed it with 90-something%. So in 4 days. And then flew through contracting. He bought leads, and we had talked about what his next 90 days is going to look like. And he had said to me that he knows that he's going to lose friends, because he's 22 years old. And there's going to be either people that want to join him and be as successful as him, or there's going to be people who are going to be resentful of his success. And so he's prepared to move on from those. So when you hit a certain level of success, you tend to get those naysayers or people who don't have your best interest in mind. But the best part about Family First Life and how big we are right now, and having that big support system, is you have plenty of people here that do have your best interest, that do have your back, that want to see your success, and are your support system. So it's a great thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that, with utilizing these tools that we've put out there, just knowing, again, you're not alone, right? You're going to plug in, get really good at leads over the phone, having that support network, continuously checking in and keeping yourself accountable.
Yep.
There's no reason that you can't be successful, right? It all depends on what you're going to do and what changes that you're going to make. So I'm really excited to see where everybody goes, and I hope this helped.
Absolutely. Thank you.